Welcome to Man, the Secret Resilience to Lead. My name is Rush, and I'm your host. Today, our special guest is Mason Thompson. Mason is a 12-year veteran of the United States Marine Corps. He's the founder of Niction Nutrition Fitness Academy in Frisco, Texas. And the reason I chose Mason as our first candidate was because, to be quite honest with you, he's been around a lot of men. 12 years in the Marine Corps, you've seen various types of personalities, you've seen various types of expressions of how men behave and act, and so it was really important that I try to see what you thought and examine what you thought about what it takes to be a good man. So, with that being said, that's my first question to you. We're just going to go right into it.
Okay.
Mason, what's a good man?
Let's see, a good man. I like this topic. Actually, I'm going to get comfortable on the couch for a second. So a good man can be defined really as somebody with depth and character that's driven. I would say somebody who's aligned with their identity, their values, and their goals in terms of how they behave and how they carry themselves. That would make a good man. I think in our culture here, it's important these days to develop a good man. Men aren't born good per se. We raise them through leadership that was taught to us from men before us, and we help raise leaders that are born after us. Because as you know, Rush, we're born in this world with our hands out. Me, gimme, gimme, gimme. And that becomes our behavior. And that's one of the first learned behaviors is when you want something, take it, ask for it, and get it. It isn't until later in life when, say, just past adolescence, that a man really begins to develop. And that's only with the correct support from leaders before him. Where, take a man who has a child for the first time, for example. Okay. Before that, because of the ways we're raised in this world these days, me, a young man becomes a young man and still very much so about me. And why not? That's how he was brought up, largely. Okay. Then he has a child, and suddenly it dawns on him that it's not just him anymore. And whether he wanted to or not, he then starts to become a little bit more selfless. And I think that's one of the early stages, and that's only one example of many different ways it comes. But that's early stages of where a young man can start to become a man, where his identity, his values, and his goals really start to drive instead of just me. Old habits begin to change.
Okay, so part of it is becoming, you're saying a good man is one of the prerequisites is become certain selflessness, have a certain selflessness in that. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I think a good man, and you did say in your own opinion, so I guess that could be disagreed with, but I think I speak in large part for most people's opinion when I say a good man has depth and character.
Okay. So tell me, what are three things that a man has to come into this world with to be successful?
You know, three things that a man has to come into this world with. We all do. I'll start by saying that. Strange way to answer the question, but the world is already set up by us for those that are coming, to join us in the future, and it was the same when we joined the world. It was set up by the leaders before us. We are designed to teach. And so as far as what we have to be born with, there really aren't three things, not even one thing that we have to be born with. Because you can be born into nothing and raised with nothing and grow into quite an amazing leader. I mean, if you look, let's take Oprah, for example. If you don't know her story, I'll give you a simplified version real quick. She was born of a mother who was 13, addicted to drugs.
Right.
she herself became pregnant at 13, and now fast forward to where she is now. Holy smokes, what was she born with? Nothing.
Right.
So there comes a time when you move from adolescence into adulthood or manhood that you have the responsibility for yourself, and whether you take it or not, that's one of the measures of a man.
Okay. Being a Marine, you taught to be strong. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What does strong mean? What does being a strong man mean to you?
Strength in a man that's where some of that character and depth comes in that I mentioned in the first question.
Right.
Yeah, because a strong man he has purpose, he has passion, and he certainly has leadership. And the leadership he has is a two-way swinging door. It's not that he's able to lead people as much as it is he's able to accept being led.
Okay.
Because we're not born knowing how to do this.
Right.
And so if all of a sudden one day you're too proud to listen to the people before you, then you're limiting yourself on how you will develop. So a strong man, he has the passion to get the job done, for sure.
Okay. So when I asked you what's strong, you went back to, it has to have depth, right? And in that, I guess you're saying that there has to be some consistency. You can't just have depth one day and not have it the next.
That's right.
You know. So that would be kind of would you agree that's an essence of being strong, is being consistent and being passionate and showing up?
Absolutely, because being consistent, with consistency, you're able to develop plans. You're able to coordinate things a lot better. That is to say, a bit more organized. Consistency is certainly necessary.
Okay. So you have children, right?
I do.
Okay. And what do you think what are 3 important things that a man can do to be a good role model to a child?
Let's see. Again, that leadership comes in there, but with kind of like a different hat on, as opposed to leading Marines or young adults or people. Now you're leading children who see the world completely different. And so sometimes they take things you say literal, sometimes they have no clue what you're talking about. And so when addressing that, you have to learn to think again like a child. They will see through you if you think that just because you're bigger than them and possibly wiser, that you're going to fool them with a bunch of threats if you're disciplining them, and you're going to take their toys away, or you're going to ground them if they do this, or just send them with some threats and then don't follow up with anything else. They'll see through that. And that's what you'll get back, is that same lack of respect that you're giving them by just lip service. So
Okay, so what you're saying is that you have to follow through with what you say you're going to do.
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, and it could be anything. It doesn't have to be, some kind of discipline. It could also be, hey, let's go get some ice cream. And you say, I want to take you for some ice cream this week. And you say, and then you follow through with that. It could be anything.
Right.
It could be anything.
Or get an A and I'll give you your phone back.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's a prime example.
Because I see often, one of the common things I notice amongst my friends and their children and other kids that I encounter is when they're largely kind of disrespectful to their parents and they get away with it. It's like, I don't understand how are your kids like that? And then when you begin to look at the parenting, there's just false threats all day long.
Right.
Stop that, or you're going to be in trouble when you get home, or, things like that, which never come to be.
Right.
They're just bouncing checks.
Okay, so
The kids know that.
The kids know that. Do you agree that children can actually they can actually read your tone? Like they subconsciously know when you're BSing them. Like,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they can read right through you. And do you? I don't know. I've seen that too, being around, that dynamic, and you always say, you're kind of insulting me, but you don't really know it by trying to fool me. Do you agree with that?
It is. I don't know how they would take that. I don't know if they take it as an insult or take it as a, yeah, right, this dude's full of crap.
Yeah.
You
So,
know.
yeah, they could just shake it off and just
Yeah,
they're
like
taking
I'm
it
not going to
personal.
trust this dude.
Yeah.
So they have their own checks and balances, their own little body languages and behaviors that they understand.
So in that's kind of an essence of saying that you should be trustworthy, that you should trust that what you say you're gonna follow through with. They should trust that you're gonna be consistent, and that gives them some kind of safety. Do you agree with that?
It does. It's funny you use the word safety. I actually would describe it exactly the same, but I say structure.
Some structure. Okay.
Kids need something to depend on.
Okay.
Because they want to do good and they accept the fact that the adults are in charge. So they want to please the adults. They want to do right and they want to be congratulated for it. And so they're always looking for intuitively, how can I do this correctly before he has to correct me?
Right.
And so as long as there's a structure, they can look ahead and take care of things, have the initiative on their own little ways.
Right.
That's what they want, and they function better that way.
Okay. Let me ask you this question, because we talked about what a man can do to be a role model for a child.
Mm-hmm.
What's the most important thing a man must do? He has to do it to nurture a relationship for it to grow.
So I'm going to add.
I'm actually talking about intimate relationship.
Okay, I was just about to ask about your context, but this would apply intimately.
Okay.
And with kids, with people that you just have to coexist with for a moment. Transparency is, I think, the number one must-have. When you hear people talk about, oh, the relationship seemed more like a business deal than anything, chances are there was a whole lot of transparency that wasn't there. He or she had her own private business going on, and so did the other parties, and they just kind of meet in the middle at home when there's kids to deal with or bills to deal with. And it can kind of seem like just a business deal. I got my life, she has hers, and we meet in the middle for business. And so that lacks a lot of transparency.
Yeah.
As well as many other examples I could give.
So transparency, I want to dig a little deeper with that question, because it's kind of an interesting, word to use. Does transparency mean you spew out your emotions when you feel them, or does it mean like if they need to know everything about you? Like, I'm trying to get, like everything about you, your daily process.
I understand your question, I think.
Yeah.
It's similar to how a kid would need structure to be able to use intuition or intuitive thought to be able to please you better.
Okay.
You and vice versa, your partner, if you're transparent, you're going to know when I'm acting out of character, because you know my character. I have this structured, to some degree or whatever, behavior about me.
Okay.
So if I'm acting out of character, I'm so transparent to you that you'll know it. You'll be like, what's wrong today? Or you've been acting strange lately.
Yeah. Okay. So they'd be able to read you, like if a book was right in front of them.
Exactly.
Like they'd be able to read you.
I'm not hiding anything, and it's
Right.
very evident.
So that's a good. Do you think men struggle with that?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I do. I think our culture struggles with that. It's kind of, there's a lot about our mannerisms and behaviors, socially speaking, that's not written down in a book, or there's no manual for it. And so we kind of create it how we want. And what I've noticed that we do a lot is have a lot of secrets.
Yeah.
There's a lot of part of my life you don't need to know about that. What's that
Right.
got to do with right now?
Right.
And that sort of thought process or behavior is good to protect us.
Right.
And that, because that's what we are, we're survivors.
Right.
We are designed to be suspicious and to protect ourselves.
Yeah.
And so if you know where the handshake came from,
No.
as a sign of peace, no weapons, right? You're
Right.
shaking hands.
Okay.
And so that can be lied.
Yeah.
I can fool you.
Yeah.
Ha ha, the other hand, you
Right.
know, or whatever.
Right.
So so that gesture is a good idea, but shaking hands obviously doesn't work. So being transparent is the proverbial shaking hands when you really want to be intimate with somebody or when they're very important to you. That's how you show them.
So unclenching your fists is why some say that transparency is like unclenching your fists and like let go of the things that just let go and just be open to be just to be read and to be vulnerable and so people can understand you better and have that sense of compassion for you and you know and connect, not only compassion but just have some genuine heart. They know who you are at the core. They feel the essence of you. Do you agree with that?
I think that was way better put. I wish I could have thought of that.
Well, when I'm listening and then I'm listening, and that's what I get, and it sounds really. I think that's a perfect example of what you're saying about transparency. We're just saying it differently. Okay, so. And then I actually like the word that you said, mannerisms. That's I like that. I'm gonna steal that from you. And I like that word because mannerisms is what we're trying to understand today. Is what do we really mean by being a man, being a good man, being a role model man, being a nurturing man, being a man that leads and how they lead, if they feel they feel the essence to lead.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how do you become from the first question I asked you was what's a good man? Okay, now how do you become a great man?
First is you got to recognize that as a man, whether you like it or not, people are looking at you and learning from you. They're going to learn about you and learn about themselves from you. And that's a responsibility.
Yeah.
You have to take and accept that responsibility. And when you do, you will start behaving like the world is watching your next move.
Right.
And it will help drive, if there's any good in you, which there is, because we're humans and we're just by nature, we want to help and love and be loved and all these great things. And so those attributes will come out. They will shine really bright in you when you realize these people are watching what you do.
Right.
And so, it's almost like being on camera.
Right, being on camera. Yeah. Well, I think it's fantastic that we've taken the time to talk today. You've shed a lot of light on what it takes to be a good man. Everything you mentioned was like on point, and from being a good man, being a role model to your children, to what it takes to nurture and grow, to grow a relationship, and then who you admire in as men,
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a lot of people that watch that and this show today, and they're going to be saying like, "Wow, I really appreciated that," and you're making an impact in the community now, and I just want to let you know that, and that's the reason we chose you. I felt you have life experiences that would kind of articulate what you think a good man is, and what you feel will propel you as the man you are to greatness. So I want to thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us today. And so shake your hand real quick.
Sir, thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Guys, that's the end of our show. I just want to say, as I always say, guys, have peace and light in you. And remember that the ocean refuses no river.
Go!